Emma on white-blue flash. We saw her knock Jeff Hoagland out of the tournament last round. She's going to have to get her way through Robert Graves. Robert on Mardu vehicles.
Definitely different style of deck than Black-Green Delirium.
Emma starts on Thraben Inspector, and it is Toolcraft Exemplar for Robert Graves. And Emma reveals Island, plays Smuggler's Copter, and passes. This is the best start for Blue-White Flash.
Yep, and also should Graves produce an artifact, his start, he wants to be attacking for 3 on turn 2, and Emma would likely just offer up the Smuggler's Copter as a trade.
Well, yeah, if she didn't swing with Thraben Inspector, that means that's her plan. Robert will play a Copter of his own, swing for 3 with Toolcraft Exemplar. Now, Emma taking, is there a reason, if she didn't attack, I did expect her to block.
Because the artifact was Smuggler's Copter, I imagine she wants to trade with that.
Sure, so the specific artifact changed her mind.
Right.
Makes sense. 1 point's not too much of a give. So now we go to the third turn by Emma. One thing that Mardu does exceptionally well here is you see Emma on the play with her best start. Robert has managed to sneak under it.
Yep. It's a very aggressive deck. Basically, as long as the mana is working, this deck can be very explosive and deal a lot of damage quickly.
Emma crews up the Copter and swings in for 3, putting Robert back to 17.
It looks like Emma has a Gideon and another land in her hand, and I believe Stasis Snare, which will be quite good here at taking that Copter down.
That's the prize. We go back to Robert. He is missing his 3rd land. I mean, look at his hand. He's got Dwarven Motorist and 2 copies of Cultivator's Caravan. A lot of play if he can get just 1 more land. If he doesn't have it just yet, Robert will crew Smuggler's Copter to start.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Might be an attack. We'll get a confirmation here.
Yeah, this looks like Stasis Snare mana here. The Copter is more important than the Exemplar.
Yeah, so it's actually an attack. Emma takes the damage and goes to 14.
Last-minute alters on your cards. Head on over to the
When Robert says go, then Emma Stasis Snares the Exemplar.
again.
So curious why Robert would just be passing the turn instead of committing any of those creatures.
Yeah,
There's
I think
multiple.
he has a Harnessed Lightning.
Okay, Harness Lightning is good and all, but you have to expect the best possible scenario here is Emma untapping and casting a Gideon.
Well, that's what she's going to do. Gideon's going to make a 2/2 ally. And now we'll see where Emma wants to go with this. She's going to crew the Smuggler's Copter with the ally. And you'd have to think once she if Robert didn't play anything, that the Copter was going to be dead on sight. And that's what happens.
Yeah, I think that crewing the Copter there was pretty aggressive. And now with the Veteran Motorist, Robert will be able to crew up his Copter and attack the Gideon for 4.
Lethal. And that's what he's going to do. Veteran Motorist, Scry 2. This is a big play by Robert.
Notably,
get the whole Planeswalker.
Emma would only be chump blocking, but with her Copter if she left it back. But she would be saving her Gideon, and the Gideon is very important.
Smuggler's Copter up to a 4/4, a draw and discard by Robert. Picks up a great draw. It's another Toolcraft Exemplar. Gideon down, and Robert will spend that last energy to make another 3/2, so it's a pass. And Robert pulling ahead here on the board and in hand. For Emma, she's got an Always Watching and a Selfless Spirit. And that looks to be just about it. A clue token that she still hasn't used. But losing that Gideon was a big blow. Cracks the clue, and she'll draw. Another Selfless Spirit. Swing with just Thraben Inspector puts Robert down to 15. And post-combat, Emma will play the 2/1 and pass the turn. But a lot of damage here on Robert's side. He's got the 3/2 Toolcraft Exemplar. He's got the Smuggler's Copter that can become even bigger off Dwarven Motorist.
In his hand, it looks like he has 2 Inventor's Apprentice and a couple other options on top of that. He'll really be given the beatdowns.
Yeah, he has a Harnessed Lightning, an Inventor's Apprentice, a Cultivator's Caravan, and a Scrap Heap Scrounger.
Okay.
Which, I mean, are all very good here. He's going to play Cultivator's Caravan, then Inventor's Apprentice. The 2/3 will crew the Copter, and Robert can swing all 3. He's going for as much damage as he can. 3/1, 3/2, and 3/3. And look at that. He draws and discards the Scrap Heap Scrounger.
That's good value.
Yeah, that Cultivator's Caravan will provide the black mana he needs to get the 3/2 out of the graveyard if Emma kills any of his creatures. So the swing is for 9. Emma at 14. She's going to have to offer some sort of trade. That Motorist, that Thraben Inspector swung last turn means she doesn't have a free block on Veteran Motorist. Yeah, so she'll trade the 2/2 token with it. So double trades. Emma takes 3 off the Copter and goes to 11. So you've seen before with white-blue, in this, cards like Avacyn is how she makes up the difference.
Right.
Always Watching will make the Thraben Inspector into a 2/3. Selfless Spirit will be cast. So Robert down to 13 on the attack, but Emma now out of cards.
And the Spirit, it does engage in combat with the Smuggler's Copter. It threatens a trade there, though Robert can just chain down the line, just attack for 5 with that Caravan.
Yeah, the Cultivator's Caravan, it's crew 3, so he'll have to play, yeah, unless he wants to crew, he'll have to play a creature. He does have the Scrap Heap Scrounger in the graveyard if he can produce a black mana. No energy right now. He'd have to use the Caravan to do it.
Looks like a Thraben Inspector in hand. You could cast that and double crew there, or however you wanted to handle this.
Yeah, he has Harnessed Lightning, Thraben Inspector, and a Mountain in hand. So Thraben Inspector will make a clue. Then Robert, he's going as aggressive as he can. He's going to Harnessed Lightning on the Selfless Spirit. Emma, we'll see if she makes him spend 2 energy or whether or not. Yeah, she just sacks it, so he gets none.
Right.
Her creatures are indestructible. Thraben Inspector going to crew Smuggler's Copter, and the Copter will swing in, discarding Veteran Motorist. Emma takes 3. And Robert plays out his last card. So both players off the top of the deck. We're back to Emma. She's going to need something big, an Avacyn perhaps. Looks like her draw is the sec. We'll get it here in a sec.
Robert there, he kept a land over a Veteran Motorist there.
Swing with Thraben Inspector for Emma.
What that land potentially enables, if he's able to produce a Gideon, he can cast that and still crew everything, not having to use Caravan mana. And this turn, he gets to bring back the Scrounger. That's the big advantage there. All right, so we go back to Graves, picks up a card for turn. Emma down to 8 here. Graves has multiple different lines here. Likely going to... The Inventor's Apprentice is not a very good attacker, nor is the Thraben Inspector. We'll see if he has another creature that he can commit here. The Copter plus the Caravan would be lethal attackers. You can assemble both of those. If you can attack with the Scrounger as well, that would be excellent.
So please take the time to confirm that your points are correct. If you finish between 9th
and here's going to be a crew of Smuggler's Copter, a swing here for 8. That's lethal. It's going to force action on Emma's side. She will put her 2/3 in front of Inventor's Apprentice, so those 2/3s will bounce off each other. Emma will take 6, going to 2. And now that will be it. So game 1 goes over to Robert Graves with Mardu Vehicles. He takes the first tier and is now 1 win away from the top 8.
Yeah, Emma was on the play and everything. See how much her sideboard can help her, but you really want to win game 1. This Mardu Vehicles deck can really put up a lot of pressure.
All right, so we look at that. Yeah, and that was really, both players are playing this low-end white aggro game of like Thraben Inspectors and Smuggler's Copters. But Robert's deck just seemed to be stronger in the situation. His creature, he had more follows.
He has instant speed removal spell to kind of manage the board in the form of Harness Lightning, which is very powerful here. And he's just lower to the ground. He has 1 mana 2/3s and 1 mana 3/2s, whereas Emma just has 1/2s for 1.
So looking at the sideboard, we look at Robert Graves. 4 Galvanic Bombardment, 3 Declaration in Stone, 2 Fragmentize, 2 Gideons, 2 Sky Sovereigns, and Unlicensed Disintegration. That would be the third one, and then a copy of Needle Spires.
I like the Galvanic Bombardments. The first one can be kind of poor. You have to find a way to tag a Selfless Spirit or deal with the Thraben Inspector. But then the second copy, third and fourth, are all good against Smuggler's Copter, Spell Queller, so that's quite good. Declaration in Stone is solid here. Just clean up some of Emma's board, particularly Spell Queller. If that catches a spell, just more removal spells are good there. Fragmentize deals with Smuggler's Copter as well as Stasis Snare. It's quite good. I like bringing up a bunch of Gideons. If this becomes a war of attrition, Gideon is really the best card on either side. Sky Sovereign is interesting. We've seen this in play against Black-Green Delirium out of some of these vehicles players. It's a way to go over the top. It kills many of Emma's creatures on ETB or when it attacks. So I like bringing in the Sky Sovereign. It can't be hit by Spell Queller as well, which is quite good.
What's interesting for me on Robert Graves' side is he has so many different options here. You know, we could talk about how Galvanic Bombardment, Declaration of Stone, Fragmentize, Gideon, and Sky Sovereign are all reasonable here. That's 13 cards, and his deck actually looked reasonable that game. So
True.
Does he, you know, could he board them all in? Yes. It would be mean he's on a different strategy, and maybe he has a different strategy he wants to play. I think that's the interesting part.
I think it's likely that he can choose his role, play a draw. On the draw, maybe he commits to managing Emma's board, and on the play, he commits to applying pressure.
That certainly seems like it could happen. On Emma's side, she's got 2 Jaces, a Ceremonious Rejection, a Negate, 2 Fragmentizes, a Linvala, a Second Always Watching, 2 Gisela the Broken Blade, 2 Declarations of her own, 2 Spell Shrivels, and a Scatter to the Winds.
Removal spells matter a lot. The Declaration of Stone, very important here. The Fragmentize to deal with all these artifacts out of Robert, particularly the Smuggler's Copter, which are a big deal. Linval the Preserver is a way to catch back up, is going to be quite powerful against aggressive deck like this. And Gisela for much the same reason. It can get hit by a removal spell, it's somewhat vulnerable to that, but if Emma's able to untap and start attacking with that life-licking flyer, that's going to be huge.
All right, well, it is game night somewhere. That's as it has been all year. StarSeedGames.com now featuring game night pins and promos. These are given away just as prizes at your local store for playing in the events you'd otherwise play in. As in November, we have had the Mole Warden being given away as a prize. That, of course, is the Cleric, the 2/1 Enchantment Cleric, or your favorite life gain creature. Either way works. We've had those on our jackets this weekend. Next month, we'll be giving away Fintuition. This one, of course, the throwback to Tempest as well as a prize. And I don't know if you've seen the January one yet. This is...
What do we got?
We have Squeaky Cheeky Acorn Breaker. The one... I've been waiting for this one for like a year to announce it, okay? This one's good. You should play in January.
Yeah, I intend to. Squeaky Cheeky. That's not easy to say.
He's got the acorns in his cheeks. You can sign up now, and if you sign up before the end of November, your store can get registered in time to give away this excellent pin. I don't know why you wouldn't be doing that right now. This is all right.
I want that pin. Why do we even make other pins?
You can just give that one away 12 months of the year.
Yeah.
Emma will be on the play for Game 2.
Henceforth, SCG Game Night will be known as Squeaky Cheeky Night. All players will be awarded squirrel parody mats.
We'll just see how many different things we can put that on. Play mats, pins, T-shirts.
Hats. Fanny packs.
Lunch boxes.
Buttons. Can make some nice buttons.
Emma was on the play Game 1, and in a lot of ways it felt like Robert stole the initiative. They both started out in the same 1 and 2 drops, and then Robert just kept going.
Both decks are Smuggler's Copter's decks. Robert both has instant speed interaction outside of combat. It can take them down with Harness Lightning as he did, and Veteran Motorist to make it a 4/4. That these are relevant advantages.
Emma starting on a Port Town for Robert. It's a duel into Thraben Inspector. A little one up there, the Concealed Courtyard, making a clue token. Second Port Town for Emma, and she'll play her own Thraben Inspector. That one's a turn late. She does not have a land to reveal to the 1-drop. Well, she actually did, but just is choosing not to. Robert, a second inspector of his own. All right, which just lots of these everywhere. And he's passing. He has no second land.
Ooh, all right. Big opening for Emma here.
If I was playing Magic Online, I would say, oh, maybe he misclicked, because that happens. But no. So when this happens and your opponent on the draw has kept a one-lander, you got...
Kill him.
Yeah, well, you assume, because Robert's a great player. If he's kept his hand...
His hand has to be excellent.
That's exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, if he hits, it's going to be real scary. He does have a third card he can play. He fragmentizes away Emma's Smuggler's Copter and swings with the pair of 1/2s. 1 damage comes in, Emma goes to 19, but still just 1 land for Robert Graves.
You're seeing a lot of what made this hand keepable. He's cast 3 spells with his 1 land here. Looks like he has multiple Inventor's Apprentice. He needs to get red mana.
Emma has Gisela, the 4/3. That's going to be good. I was concerned for a second. I was saying if Emma's next play here is Gideon, then we were done.
Yeah.
This Mythic Rare is not good news for Robert.
He does have a Harness Lightning in hand. He needs a red source.
Yeah, he misses the land for the 3rd turn, and that may be the whole story here for game number 2. Emma will swing with Gisela. Robert down to 16, Emma to 23. She draws a 5th land, and she's going to continue to press the advantage. Cracks a clue to look for more action.
And now we'll see if she's able to just protect Gisela with Spell Quellers, Revolutionary Rebuff if those are still in the deck.
At this point, you can protect with Avacyn. She'll play Reflector Mage, bouncing a Thraben Inspector, and pass the turn. She just wants the 2/3 more than anything else. Robert finally hits the land. Turn 5, he'll go for Scrap Heap Scrounger and pass. That's not going to help him at all. That doesn't block.
Land was a Plains. That is not what he needed. Really desperately needs a red source.
Emma draws Spell Queller, and that may just be it.
That's game.
Yeah, swing for 6, Robert down to 10. Emma actually did not have very much action there.
No.
Had she drawn 2 more lands, there was a chance that Robert could win.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to win through Spell Queller. And you see he picks up the cards as we go to game 3.
Yeah, you've seen enough.
Well, all right then, Emma Handy evens things up. Robert keeping a speculative hand on the draw. Not necessarily wrong, and but the spec does not work out, and his deck doesn't show up.
Yep, and now Robert has seen Gisela from Emma, so he's definitely going to want to prioritize, if he didn't already have him, which I assume he did, having things like Declaration in Stone or just a high threshold of removal spells that can deal with Gisela cleanly. He definitely does not want to just lose to that creature on the spot. He certainly saw that he had Harness Lightning in hand. He wants to have access to at least 8 clean answers just because of how unbeatable the card is on the table.
All right, well, our backup match, you see walking over there, Players Championship hoodie on and match slip in hand. He is on to the top 8. Our 8-0 player from yesterday starts out with a rocky day today, 2-3, but he manages the 3-3, and that is good enough at 12-3. Brad Nelson into the top 8. And
another accolade.
And if everyone, especially on Season 3, now collectively is concerned.
The beast is woke. He's on the hunt.
If Brad wins this tournament, he just took the 3rd spot for Season 3.
And we're going to the Invitational, and Brad, he's an Invitational champion. He's a scary competitor on that stage as well.
Well, so we know Brad Nelson into the top 8. Now, if you are joining us over on Twitch.tv, we want to have a big thank you for those of you watching us all day today. We are going to have our top 8, and you decide the quarterfinals. That's going to be coming up this round. So if you haven't watched us, this is how this works. If you are a subscriber, and you can subscribe now over at twitch.tv/SCGLive, you get custom emoticons and badges all the time. And during our opens, you get to vote on the quarterfinals match, the players and the cards you want to see. So at the conclusion of our coverage of round 15, that's this round, we will go, while we ready the players, we go on a 1-hour break. So 1 hour from when we end the coverage is when the top 8 starts. But 30 minutes before then, we open voting as to what matches you want to see. So is it Brad Nelson's run toward the Players' Championship, trying to get, I mean, he's the best player at that event for the last 2 years by far. Do you want to see the winner of Emma Handy, Robert Graves, what they can do here?
Do you want to watch a green-black mirror?
Kenneth D'Souza, I mean, he is 4 points better than anyone else in the field. Has just been dominant.
Yep, that will
He'll be there
our
too.
1 seed.
We have Zan Saeed. He's playing for a top 8 spot this round. You had him on earlier. Red, white humans.
Yeah.
Probably our most interesting deck if he makes top 8. Chris Anderson, Team Lotus captain, playing for a top 8 spot right now. There's a chance. We don't know. 8th or 9th. Maybe we get Brian Bronduin, current world champion, in the top 8. Not out. He is not out yet.
Yep, Brian always puts on a good show. Players looking at their 7-card hands for Game 3. Robert Graves on the play. Both players keeping on 7.
All right, Robert starts on Toolcraft Exemplar. Back over to Emma. She's got a 1-drop of her own. Thraben Inspector making a clue.
All right, does Robert have a Smuggler's Copter or some artifact?
No artifact. He does have Veteran Motorist, a good card, but it means he will not get to attack with his other dwarf this turn. Yeah, Emma, oh, she sees it. She sees it. No attack.
And Veteran Motorist has the common Boros mechanic of scrying. Just
Yeah, red-white cards. All my red-white cards scry.
typical design.
You have to bribe me to play red-white cards, and scrying would do it. So
Fair.
I like this. There's the artifact. There's the Smuggler's Copter. Robert draws at turn 3. A little late, but it'll still play. And that will be the Copter. So now that Toolcraft Exemplar will make his way up to a 3-2. Robert's going to swing it in. Emma can trade it with Selfless Spirit.
I'd be inclined to do that.
Yeah, when you're against this red deck, I almost feel like you want to take every trade you can get.
Yep. Got to protect your life total. Robert is an unlicensed disintegration deck. He can do a lot of damage to your board and your life total just out of nowhere.
Yeah, so she will make the trade, but now she's going to have to deal with the potential of a 4/4 Smuggler's Copter. You see Robert replaces the Toolcraft Exemplar.
Fragmentize would be big here.
And that's kind of what she's working with because blocking it's not on the table. And all right, how about Fragmentize? Copter's down, and this is huge. Not only is the Veteran Motorist not going to be able to crew it, but now that Toolcraft Exemplar's back to being a 1/1 unless Robert can do something else.
Yep. And she still has the Thraben Inspector, which checks the Motorist.
Robert's got Aether Hub, Mountain, makes an energy. He might just have 3 lands. 2 cards left in his hand. One of them's a land.
Yeah, his hand is just not functional here. I think it's an
another-
unlicensed disintegration.
Yeah, so there's no artifact, so it's just, I mean, his plan, he has a 3/1 and a 1/1. Emma's sitting there on Thraben Inspector. His options are trade one of my real cards for Thraben Inspector, disintegrate Thraben Inspector. He just does nothing.
Yep. Ooh, and a Gideon off the top for Emma. This
This is in
everything.
control. She'll play Gideon Ally of Zendikar. Absolutely. That's going to make a 2/2. 2/2 looks great on this board. She'll pass. She's got an Avacyn in hand. If she makes another land drop before Robert does anything, this is lights out. His play is another Veteran Motorist. He'll get a scry of 2 to find something. Smuggler's Copter, Scrap Heap Scrounger. That's pretty good.
Yeah, Smuggler Copter is quite good here. Get something that can fly in, maybe try to manage this Gideon. With the Motorist, he can make it a 4/4 on its own.
Yeah,
Have to count on Emma not having an answer, though.
He'll put them both on top. Now this is an interesting decision. He was deciding whether or not to play that last land. If he played it, he could cast Disintegration in a pinch. If he did not play it, then he could discard it maybe to Copter later on.
He likely wants to just cast that when he has an artifact on the battlefield, leverage that 3 damage. Maybe it matters against the Gideon.
It could. With Emma at 20, I feel like he needs board control, though. You know, the idea that he's going to burn her out from this life total.
Well, it's not burning her out. It's if Emma takes the Gideon up to 5.
Oh, okay. Gets Gideon down by 3.
Right. He needs an avenue to actually kill this Gideon.
I like that a lot. Emma draws and plays land 5. That means this Avacyn in her hand is now online. She pluses Gideon and attacks Robert to 15, plays Selfless Spirit,
Leaves
and
up
passes.
Stasis Snare as well.
Yeah, I mean, if she is making an attack with Gideon as opposed to more 2/2s, it's a huge sign of strength. And warranted, she's in a really strong position. Smuggler's Copter from Robert Graves. He kept that one on top with the Motorist. Plays the last land. Now he has Artifact and Disintegration up. But remember, that's not going to do much to deal with Gideon. Once Gideon turns into a creature, you cannot disintegrate it. He's indestructible.
So he has 3 legal 3-power attackers. Emma is representing white, white, blue. He could go for the disintegration on one of the creatures and send everything else at Gideon. But Emma would be able to eat a lot of stuff in combat if that was the line.
Robert is going to pass, and Emma end of turn stasis snares away the Toolcraft Exemplar. Back over to Emma. 3 cards in hand. Land and Avacyn. She'll play the land. Gideon makes an emblem. Surprised to see the emblem. Wasn't what I guess it means her Avacyn is now big enough to just block. Oh gosh, this is great. With Selfless Spirit on the table and Avacyn in hand, it's going to be really hard for Robert to make any sort of progress. I'm deciding if it's time yet to attack. Sure, it's going to be the Selfless Spirit for 3.
And she's representing Stasis Snare here. Of course, if Robert were to crew the Copter with the Motorist, it's a 4/4 blocker.
It's going to do it. Crew Copter. It is a 4/4. He'll block. I think Emma may. I don't know. What's the attack? Is she just going to lose the Spirit? I'm a little confused on this line. I guess she's going to flash Avacyn into play. There's a trigger, making all her guys indestructible. Robert will disintegrate in response. Okay, this means Emma's going to lose her Gideon.
Yep.
Right, she can use Selfless Spirit to save Avacyn.
Right.
This is still this is still really good for
The
Emma.
Spirit is engaging in combat that's not profitable as well.
Well, Emma just loses both. And Robert's going to draw off Copter. Emma could have sacrificed Spirit to make Avacyn indestructible, right?
Yes. This reads to me like she missed that the Motorist is pumping the Copter. And Robert looted there and discarded a Scrap Heat Scrounger. Currently no black mana with no energy, but that's something to keep in mind.
And now, because Avacyn's not going to flip, Robert's going to keep his Motorists. He's ahead. Yeah, this is okay. This is going to be a lot tougher for Emma Handy now.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what transpires. It looks like she gave up a lot of material for nothing.
Crew of Smuggler's Copter into a 4/4 and an attack. Robert will loot away a land. Emma down to 16. She's still not in a horrible shape. Her last card isn't always watching. She's got an emblem in play and draws Spellcaller, so she may yet pull out of this.
Yeah, that's a good combination of cards to have.
Here is Always Watching. It's the second anthem for her team. So we have a 4/4 ally token, a 4/3 Selfless Spirit, and a 3/4 Thraben Inspector. And oh yeah, they all have Vigilance. A correction here. It's a 3/3 token. Always Watching doesn't pump the token, but it does pump the other 2. So she'll swing the 2 Vigilant creatures. Will the token come along? Sure, why not? It's a 3/3.
Yeah, trading with Motorist is fine.
Keep in mind, Robert does have a Scrounger in his yard that he can get back. So
doesn't have black mana, though.
Motorist blocked the token. That's a trade. And that is 7 damage. Robert down to 8, and he will pass. Emma's last card, that couldn't have come at a better time. It's a Spell Queller.
Robert just missed a land drop. He had Aether Hub. He would have been able to buy back the Scrounger. I think part of the argument he wanted to loot with the Copter, but
yeah, that makes sense.
He missed having a Scrounger on the battlefield.
It's a trade-off. He goes for Smuggler's Copter, and Emma will Spell Quell it. It is gone, and now we go back over to Emma. That is 8 power in the air for her. Robert is going to have to trade away that Copter.
All right. So now 4/5 Spell Queller is on the team here. That can safely attack into the Copter. The Selfless Spirit would be a trade if she decided to send that one. The Inspector would just get eaten. I imagine just attack with the Spell Queller here.
It's free. Well, no, she can swing all 3, right? Because if Robert crews and tries to eat the Thraben Inspector, then Emma wins.
Yeah, I suppose
Robert
the
takes
other
8.
2 creatures are lethal, yeah. May as well.
I mean, that's assuming Robert has nothing, and he's got a card in hand. Does he even?
He emptied his hand to get that Aether Hub on the battlefield to have black mana for that Scrounger.
So swinging the team is great here.
Yeah, had he gotten the Scrounger, he can Scrounger and he can animate the Copter with that and have 2 blocks.
Okay.
But they're
But then it's
both
only
chump. They're chump blocks, and like you can trade with this with the Selfless Spirit.
Right. Well, no, he can actually still eat the Inspector. Now they're all flying. Because you can block and crew again. Let's see how it plays out. Emma's going to swing the team. This forces a play from Robert. He has to block one of these 2 flyers or he is dead. Which really means he has to block Selfless Spirit.
Right.
He's got a Scrap Heap Scrounger in his graveyard.
Crews up with the Motorist, makes a 4/4, and puts it in front of the Selfless Spirit, offering a trade here. Emma is probably fine just taking the actual trade. There's no reason to make the team indestructible here. You might as well get that Copter off the table. 7 points of damage would connect and put Robert down to 1. She's thinking about whether or not she wants to do it. So I assume that this will just end up being a trade in combat.
Yeah, do we know the last card?
I don't recall what it was.
She'll just let the damage happen here. Selfless Spirit trades with Smuggler's Copter. Robert Graves down to 1 on the attack. Emma will pass. Robert has a Scrounger in the graveyard he can use. He's thinking he's only got 1 energy. If he spends that energy on getting back the Scrounger and he draws an Unlicensed Disintegration, then he can't cast it. And I think that might be why he's not going to do it.
And the Scrounger doesn't really matter. It can attack into this 3/4 Thraben Inspector. That doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's other outs where he needs the 3/2. Like if he draws a vehicle, he would need the 3/2 to crew, right?
Sure, yeah, if he wants to
If he
crew
draws
something.
Sky Sovereign, let's say.
Yeah.
So there are outs both ways. He's going to hang on to that black mana, though.
Looks like a mountain off the top.
That's not going to do anything. And there's the concession. And for Emma Handy, it's a win in 3. And she is headed to her first top 8 here on the SCG Tour.